Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're moving beyond just what people think.
Hmm.
We're diving into the why, the feelings behind it all. We've got some great material you shared on consumer sentiment, especially that piece from Cognitive Market Research by Sneha Mali.
Exactly. For so long, market research felt very, well, numbers-driven,
Mm-hmm.
cold facts.
Right.
But this deep dive, it's about showing how understanding emotions, those undercurrents,
Yeah.
gives businesses a real edge. It's about finding out what truly drives people.
Okay, let's break that down then.
Yeah,
Our mission here is to pull out the practical, actionable stuff from these sources. We want to understand the tools, the strategies that work.
the future trends.
Yeah, and also the challenges, the tricky parts of using emotional data. The goal is to give everyone listening a solid grasp of this field and how it actually works in practice.
Makes sense.
So, where do we start? How do we actually measure these, invisible feelings?
Well, the article mentions a few key tools. First up is sentiment analysis software.
Uh-huh.
And what's really powerful here is the AI, the natural language processing. It can sift through massive amounts of text.
Massive amounts.
Yeah, and figure out if the feeling is positive, negative, neutral,
Mm-hmm.
but also trickier stuff like sarcasm or mixed feelings.
Sarcasm. That's always tough for AI.
It is. So it's not just counting words, it's trying to get the intent,
Yeah.
like reading between the lines.
Right, because manually sifting through all the online chat, reviews, everything, it's just impossible. So these AI tools are like emotion interpreters.
That's a good way to put it. Interpreters at scale.
They're-
Then there's social listening.
Okay, listening in.
Basically actively monitoring platforms, Twitter, Facebook, forums, wherever people are talking. It's kind of like an early warning system for your brand.
So you can catch reactions fast or see if a problem is starting to brew.
Exactly. You see real-time reactions to a campaign or maybe spot a crisis before it blows up. Super valuable for spotting trends, too.
Makes sense. Keeping a finger on the pulse, emotional speaking. What else does the article mention?
Emotional cues survey design. This is about crafting survey questions differently.
How so?
Instead of just asking, did you like the product, actually, you ask something like, how did using this product make you feel? It gets you a much deeper layer of feedback.
So prompting an emotional response, not just a yes, no, or a rating, getting to the actual experience.
Precisely. And the last piece mentioned is data visualization.
Making it make sense.
Yeah, because you can have all this great data, but if it's just a spreadsheet, it's overwhelming. Tools like heat maps, word clouds, sentiment graphs,
Mm-hmm.
they make the emotional trends easy to see.
So everyone on the team can quickly understand what's going on, emotionally speaking.
Right. Makes it much easier to share and act on.
Okay, powerful tools. But then how do we actually bridge the gap, take these feelings, this data, and bring it into, actual business strategy?
Yeah, this is where it gets really crucial. The article stresses that emotional data isn't some separate thing over here.
It needs to be integrated.
It has to be woven into your main market research framework. And importantly, all departments need to be kind of tuned in to the customer's emotional needs.
So not just marketing's job.
Definitely not. The
Yeah.
point is, this data shows the why, the feelings, the motivations behind the actions. It's way deeper than just clicks or keywords.
Okay.
And that understanding, it informs product design, customer service, everything.
Yeah.
When you get those emotional drivers, your business just becomes more adaptable, more
Yeah.
customer-focused.
That totally clicks. Like if you keep hearing frustration about, say, battery life, that's a direct signal to the product team.
Yeah, exactly. Now, think about marketing campaigns. How does this play out there?
Right. How do you use emotions in messaging?
Well, the article notes that if you understand what really moves people, maybe it's nostalgia or feeling empowered or belonging,
Mm-hmm.
you can tap into that
Deeper engagement.
much deeper.
Yeah.
Think about ads that evoke like a warm childhood memory. That connection is powerful. It sticks.
The article had that example about sustainability messages.
Oh, yeah, that's a great one.
Connecting with eco-conscious consumers on their values, their feelings about the planet. It builds real loyalty.
It does. Not just saying we're green, it's resonating with a core belief. So marketers can craft stories that don't just sell, they, inspire, build real affection for the brand.
Yeah.
It's relational, not just transactional.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. What about when things go wrong? Crisis management. The article says emotional data is vital here.
Absolutely vital. This is where that real-time sentiment analysis is like a critical damage control tool.
Because speed matters.
Hugely. The faster you spot a wave of negative feeling, the faster you can react, fix things, and hopefully limit the damage to your reputation. It's like your customer's shouting emotionally, you got to listen.
Yeah, the example was a social media campaign that backfires, accidentally offends people. That can spiral so fast online.
So fast. But if you're monitoring sentiment, you see it happening almost instantly. Then you can jump in, acknowledge the issue empathetically, explain what you're doing about it. That quick, honest response is key to rebuilding trust.
Okay, so we've got the tools, the strategy integration, crisis management. Now, let's talk action. How do we turn insights into concrete changes?
Right, the article breaks this down well. First, refining marketing messages.
Using what works emotionally.
Exactly. If the data shows certain positive feelings are linked to your brand joy, trust, excitement, whatever, lean into that. Build your ads, your social posts, even product descriptions around evoking those specific emotions.
So, consciously speaking, the emotional language that connects best makes sense. What about customer service?
That's another big one. Amplifying customer service. Negative sentiment is basically a map of customer pain points.
Ah, like a diagnostic tool.
Precisely. It flags where people are getting frustrated. Maybe a shipping delays, maybe support wasn't helpful, maybe the return process is a nightmare.
Okay.
Analyzing that feedback lets you fix the root causes. Maybe you need better training for support staff, or you need to streamline logistics, or just make your policies clearer.
So it's about fixing the system, not just handling one complaint at a time. And the article also mentioned innovating product features based on emotion. That sounds interesting.
It really is. Customer emotions are a gold mine for innovation. When people express frustration or wishes or unmet needs, that's your roadmap for what to build or improve next.
Like the battery life example again.
Exactly. If people are consistently feeling let down by battery life, that's a flashing red light for the R&D team. And when you address those emotional pain points, you're not just making a better product.
You're showing you listened.
You're showing you listened. And that deepens the emotional connection with the brand significantly.
This really shows the practical side. Okay, looking ahead, the future. What's coming next in sentiment analysis, according to the article?
Well, the field's moving fast. One major trend is multimodal sentiment analysis,
Multimodal, meaning?
meaning analyzing more than just text. It's about bringing in other data types like the tone of voice from customer calls, or even visual cues like facial expressions from videos.
Wow, so you could analyze how someone says something, not just what they say, or see their reaction.
Exactly. It gives you a much, much richer, more holistic view of their actual emotional state, way beyond just the words.
That sounds like a huge leap. The article also called out emotion detection in video content specifically.
Yeah, because video is everywhere now, right? YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. Being able to understand the emotional reaction to videos is becoming critical.
So analyzing comments, but also faces, body language in the video itself.
Analyzing the visual elements, the nonverbal cues, it's tapping into a whole ocean of emotional data we couldn't really access at scale before.
Okay, what else is on the horizon? Predictive emotional analytics sounds, well, predictive.
It is. This is about moving from understanding current feelings to actually forecasting future ones.
How does that work?
By looking at historical emotional patterns, you analyze past reactions to predict future ones. The example given was predicting a positive reaction to new eco-friendly packaging, because similar green initiatives got positive sentiment before.
So you can kind of test the emotional waters before you launch something big. Reduce risk.
Exactly. It helps brands align with what they expect customers will feel, hopefully boosting success. It's proactive.
Very cool. And the last one was IoT integration. Internet of Things. How does that fit?
Yeah, it seems unrelated at first, but think about all the smart devices around us. Smart speakers, wearables, connected appliances.
Okay.
There's potential to get real-time emotional feedback through them. Maybe your smart assistant detects frustration in your voice tone after repeated commands.
Huh.
Or a fitness tracker senses stress levels. This immediate feedback could allow products to adapt on the fly. The article even imagined a device adjusting its own software for better performance if it senses you're getting frustrated with it.
Whoa. Tech, that's actually like emotionally aware and adaptive. That's quite something. Okay, but it can't all be smooth sailing. The article mentions challenges, right? It's not a perfect science.
Definitely not. There are real hurdles. First is just the ambiguity of language.
We touched on sarcasm earlier.
Exactly. Sarcasm, idioms, slang. Human language is just incredibly nuanced. Context is king. That example, just what I needed, another headache, is clearly negative, but an algorithm might miss the sarcasm.
And get the wrong result, which leads to bad decisions.
Potentially, yeah. It highlights the need for really sophisticated context-aware AI. Another big one is information overload.
Just too much data.
So much data.
Hmm.
Social media, reviews, surveys, calls. It's a fire hose. You need really good tools and clear strategies just to filter it and find the insights that actually matter. Otherwise, you just drown in it.
Right. Spending all your time collecting, not analyzing. What else? Cultural differences? That seems like a big one.
Huge. How emotions are expressed or not expressed varies massively across cultures.
Right.
A direct comment might be fine in one culture but rude in another. Sarcasm might be common here, rare somewhere else. The article's point about direct feedback in the West versus some Asian cultures is a perfect example.
So a one-size-fits-all analysis won't work globally.
Not effectively. You need models trained on diverse data and, ideally, local expertise to interpret things correctly.
And finally, the elephant in the room, perhaps. Privacy concerns.
Yep. This is a major ethical challenge. Collecting and analyzing emotional data, especially with newer tech like voice or facial analysis, it raises serious questions.
People are more aware of data privacy now, regulations like GDPR.
Exactly. You absolutely need transparency. You need clear consent. You need to use the data responsibly. Building and maintaining trust is paramount, alongside just, following the law.
Definitely critical considerations. Now, to make this even more concrete, the article gave a couple of examples. Let's talk Coca-Cola.
Yes. Coke is a classic case of emotional branding. They've always focused more on the feeling of drinking Coke, happiness, connection, togetherness, rather than just the taste or ingredients.
Like the Share a Coke campaign.
Perfect example. Personalizing the bottles created this feeling of individual connection, shared experience. It was incredibly successful. And they constantly monitor social media, feedback, surveys to keep tabs on that emotional connection people have with the brand.
So they're actively managing the brand's emotional footprint. What about the other one, Apple?
Apple's approach is more around the user-centered design and the emotions that evokes.
Simplicity, innovation.
Right. That feeling of elegance, ease of use, being part of something premium or creative. They understand that design itself triggers feelings.
And they track this.
Oh, constantly.
Mm-hmm.
They use sentiment analysis across every touch point, reviews, support calls, social media, to understand how people feel using their products. And that feeds back into product development and marketing. Their ads often focus on those emotional benefits, creativity unleashed, connecting with loved ones, which really resonates.
So two great examples of companies really integrating emotional understanding, just maybe with slightly different focuses, brand feeling versus product experience feeling.
Exactly. Both incredibly effective.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. We've really covered a lot of ground on consumer sentiment.
You have. From the power of understanding emotions to the tools like sentiment analysis and social listening, how to weave it into strategy,
Using it in marketing and crisis management, turning insights into action.
and then looking ahead at trends like multimodal analysis and predictive analytics, while also acknowledging the very real challenges like ambiguity and privacy.
Yeah, hopefully everyone listening feels they have a much clearer picture now of why this matters and how it works in practice for market research and engaging with customers.
Mm.
So as we wrap up and thinking about how fast this tech is moving, here's a final thought. With multimodal analysis getting better and better, combining text, voice, maybe even facial expressions, how might our basic idea of customer needs really change in the next few years? Will it move beyond what people just tell us they need?
That is a really interesting question to chew on. What does need even mean when you can sense frustration or delight directly? Lots to think about.
Indeed. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you'll think about how emotional data might play a role in your own world.